Yeah, and on that note, for example, talk about reaching out and working with, all parties. We sponsored a tour of the Department of Agriculture, collective task force of employees, of career employees, and that was in Pennsylvania, and we had 14 foreign agricultural service employees, both domestically and those that were about to be deployed to the embassy.
Hey guys, it's Mandy with Global Hemp Association. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about the opportunity to build a relationship and connect this supply chain. I mean, after all, that's why we started the association. Our association was built on the foundation of connecting supply chain, building relationships, and helping you grow your business. Anyone from farmers, manufacturers, and distributors, people that are passionate about the supply chain, and those creating products selling into biofuels, plastics, textiles, construction, and building materials.
And we're live. Hello, everyone. Hi, Patrick. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm still in awe about your view. I want to move through your view behind you and all the windows. It's awesome. But thank you, everybody else, for joining today. I see that there's quite a few of you. Wow, spit it out. Quite a few of you listening. And so thank you very much for chiming in again. Please like, share, comment. Go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. We're getting really close to hitting our goal and helping to share more information so we can reach a bigger audience and definitely get the education and connections out there. So we can't do it without your support. I want to give a huge thank you to you as well as our sponsors. I've got them running at the bottom of the page. Please shout out if you have any questions about what they're doing, who they are, how I can help connect you. They're fabulous. Big thank you to FiberX that just joined as a sponsor. So thank you very much as well. Okay, so on and on about my thank yous. I also want to say I'm on my way to Montana, where we've got an awesome event coming up, and then Southern Hemp Expo, and then the most exciting that I'm really passionate about and really excited to make some reconnect, I guess, with some solid people in the industry is the National Industrial Hemp Council and your event, Patrick. So we're going to dive into that a little bit, but before we do, Patrick, what do you have going on and how have things been for you?
Oh, it's been crazy. As you know, we've talked before, there is so much happening, and today we'll dive into at least 5 of the topics that we'll talk about. But as far as the view, when you come to DC, let us know. We'll take you to the rooftop. We've got a fantastic view of the Washington Monument, the White House to the right. It's just really a nice space. I would just say August probably not the optimal time because it's very humid. But you're always welcome, and it's great working with you. In terms of what we're doing, there's domestically, we have our event, the National Industrial Hemp Council's annual Farm Business Research Summit. We added the research because we're with Oregon State University at the Global Hemp Innovation Center. Very excited about that. The Dean of the Agricultural School, Stacy Simon, she is opening up our meeting, so we're very excited about that. Jay Noller, it's his swan song. He's retiring. They're in the process of hiring the new director of the Global Hemp Innovation Center. It's going to Human Resources now, so we hope that they'll have an announcement at that time. But we, have her. We have the boss of that person presenting the dean of the School of Agriculture. So, excellent. A lot of industry members. Some of the new, some of the old, some of the rename. Element 6 will be there. Delta Ag. Folks as far as Kentucky are coming in. So we're very excited about it, and just go to our website to see the agenda and to register.
Well, and last year I was really impressed. For those that didn't get to attend, I was really impressed by the quality of people, the type of conversation, the discussion, the professionalism, and the diversity, not just local or regional, but global, right? You brought people in from all over, and yeah, it was very exciting. I met some fabulous people that I've been able to stay in contact with and now build friendships. So thank you to that. Thanks for like I said, everything that you're doing. And I love supporting, I love working with you. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about, I was just going to pull up, I saw a comment. Hector, thank you very much for listening. Hello. Hi, Mindy. I hope you're still listening. It's good to see you as well. And Wayne, good morning. Good morning from Oakland. Good to see you. Again, let us know where you guys are chiming in from. If you guys have questions for Patrick throughout this, please don't hesitate to ask. We love engaging in conversation. So talk to me a little bit about your outreach program. What are you guys doing as an organization for domestic and international outreach?
Yeah, like you, and we saw your fantastic booth at NOCO event, and we were there for the first time exhibiting after coming out of COVID, and dipping our feet into the world of exhibits, meetings, and trade shows, and spoke there. So that was a phenomenal opportunity. Thanks to Morris Spiegel for providing that to us. We'll be at Southern Hemp Expo in a couple of weeks, and I'll be on a panel with several folks talking about what we're doing in policy. Up there with US Hemp Roundtable, for example, Jonathan Miller.
Yeah.
Glad to be with those. And I mean, that's with our meeting too. We're talking about the major national associations, the National Industrial Hemp Council, Global Hemp Association, US Hemp Roundtable, US Hemp Building Association, etc. Because I get that question a lot. It's like, well, who should I join? There's too many people out there. I don't understand. And it's really, there's not, that many groups. You and I have been in it, for a while. So it's pretty straightforward. So we're like, there's basically, five or six, depending on how you want to count them. But I also say it's like, you don't have to belong to just one. It's like going to the store and saying, I want, should I get this cereal or that cereal? Well, you can get both. I mean, it may not, it's going to be optimal, but it's, I think, joining, you get different values from different associations. We're more, as more the federal and international. We get a little bit into the state. So we did those. We were doing those two events. Then internationally, as we're funded through the U.S. Department of Agricultural Market Access Program. So we were in, Costa Rica. We did it on our own, and you did a fantastic job, Andy, of moderating that. I highly recommend anybody who's looking for a moderator, if you can get her time. Andy's phenomenal. So we did Costa Rica, as you know. Then we did Brussels. That was a European Industrial Hemp Association meeting. That's also part of the Federation of International Hemp Organizations, which we belong to, which is over 22 members globally: India, Russia, Canada, Mexico, South America, United States. It's India. So it's a great great organization. So we're heavily involved in that. One of our members, Element 6, sits on the board, also on the interim board, and with myself. So a plug to the FIHO, two plugs. One is you're looking for an executive director. So if you've ever dreamed of living in Brussels, here's your opportunity. The second part of that is there's the annual meeting, which will be in Saskatoon, Canada, later this fall, and they'll be selecting permanent board members at that meeting. Also on the international front, we just got back from Berlin. That's we expanded, what we were doing with the booth space. We had, materials that were there. One that was really popular was the hemp, 100% hemp. I just say 99% hemp, and then a blend for the binding materials to that. But if you put it in the ground, 90 days later, it decomposes. But that was very popular because Germany banned the use of plastic utensils. So it was a really, in the show, heavy traffic, and a lot of that driven by, the hemp utensils. And I keep going, I apologize, we've just been really busy.
I love it. Yeah, I think this is what's important, right? Is for people to understand what are the organizations doing and where in their business, right? Like each organization, your needs may shift and change depending on what that organization is doing and where you're at in your business process. Mm-hmm. And so understanding that the collaboration is happening within the industry and, like you said, participating in they're different networks, they're different branches, they're approaching industry differently. There's benefits to both.
Yeah, and on that note, for example, talk about reaching out and working with, all parties. We sponsored a tour of the Department of Agriculture's, collective task force of employees, of career employees, and that was in Pennsylvania. And we had 14 Foreign Agricultural Service employees, both domestically and those that were about to be deployed to the embassies globally. For example, in Taiwan, China, I think India and Philippines were among those. And so we had 14, and then we had 3 from the Agricultural Marketing Service, which is overseeing the hemp program. So we went to coexist, to an Amish farmer, to just drew a blank on the research, Rodale, and with them. So fantastic tour, fantastic, education, for the federal government, and that's paying off. People are always complaining about, the government, but USDA has really been behind hemp, including, the Secretary's comments on hemp on his speech earlier this year, to us working with them, very, very closely, Capitol Hill even, we prepped the House committee prior to the hearing last week. So that was, fantastic, and they had a good turnout of hemp people. So, I think that the negative, really people should be turning to the positives. You and I talked earlier about fiber, and we can talk about that later, but, definitely where we're not being regulated by FDA, the future looks very bright, and it is bright. For a commodity that, doesn't get crop insurance, that doesn't get support, that doesn't get everything that more traditional crops do, we're on the right track. We're going in the right direction. I'm very excited.
Okay, so this is kind of a side note and squirrel from where we had talked about we're going. So if this isn't in your wheelhouse, I totally understand, because you've got an awesome staff, an awesome group that not even necessarily staff, also volunteers and members that add a ton of value and input. But I'm curious about when we talk about being on the right path and where we are for scale, number of acres in the ground compared to where we're projected to be, what's our timeline to get up to, say, 1 million acres?
I would say 1 million acres optimistically, but potentially doable, 5 to 7 years. I think that's a possibility. But we need to shift gears. I mean, the problem is that right now crops are at record prices, $16 per wheat, when normally 6 is high, right? Even with the high cost of fuel, fertilizer, it's still a pretty high return.
Right.
So that's a challenge for hemp that, as I noted before, it doesn't have the supports that the traditional crops have. If a crop gets wiped out, there's really not crop insurance. There's a small program that's available, but it's really, not, to the level of a farmer weighing taking the risk or not. Then we have the history. I'll be open about it. We have the history of, dealing with, the initial, heyday years. But I think that's changing. I mean, I really do. You go to meetings, and you were at, Notre, and you've been in other places. It's, shifting away. Nothing wrong with it, but it's definitely shifting to the more corporate. And that's kind of an issue too, because, some folks are like, we were here first, and I don't disagree. But if you want to grow the hemp crop, agricultural crop, into really mainstream, it's a different mentality. And that's, why we've been very successful, because we've done, our board, our members, myself, have been in agriculture for myself over 50 years. From the time I could pick up a shovel, my dad had me working.
Why we have kids.
Yeah, we have kids, and some of my friends have grandkids. But it's kind of funny, because you think, oh, everybody knows agriculture and how things work, but they really don't. And I think a lot of the folks that were in the industry, or still are in the industry, don't come from an agricultural background. They come from more of a, an investor type of mentality and background.
Sure. Well, and I've had this conversation multiple times with people. I think some of you even that are listening, where we've talked about the impact or the real reality check of growing a few plants indoors to scaling, even outdoors, let alone from a couple acres to thousands of fiber. It's a completely different conversation, and horticulture versus big agriculture. And those conversations really are becoming more of a topic, or at the forefront of conversation in all of these events now, right? Really shifting from the horticulture, a few plants, to big ag, and how this has impacted the sustainability and carbon footprint and economic development, and the conversations that we're really being hit with since the pandemic.
No, absolutely. Spot on.
Yeah.
But I think it also underlines both positively and negatively.
Yeah.
Positively, it just shows the broad spectrum of what you can do with hemp, whether it's fiber, dual purpose, flower, remediation. There's so much that can be done with it. And you talk about products. I think a really good area where the camel's nose is under the tent is insulation. When we were in Berlin last 2 weeks ago, they had a great demonstration of hemp fiber as insulation. I mean, it looks like regular insulation. Actually, it's better. It doesn't come in the aluminum siding, the fibers that are itchy, and it feels good. It feels solid, but the properties are amazing. We'll definitely be showcasing that. Its ability to keep a house cool and absorb heat, prevent it from going through the house. So that's the positive, right? There's so many things you can do with hemp. The negative is that people get confused. When you say industrial hemp, because it's so broad, it's not like we can say, oh, it's wheat, you make it into bread or cereals. It's flour, and everybody knows what flour does. We have hemp parts, we have so many parts of the plant that you can use. So, and then it gets mixed up in the marijuana, high THC, cannabis discussion. So I think that needs to happen. I think, the families that be in the hemp association, we should really start talking about how do we market it to the consumer so that they know hemp versus everything else, or not getting it mixed up. And that's, and there's so many things going on in our lives, that you and I everything is hemp. But for the normal person, when I go speak to Rotary Club or Lions Club, all they want to know is CBD, how much should I take? What should I take? That's about it. So I think on that note, another thing that we're working on, you asked, is we are working on the checkoff program still. And we believe that now is an opportune time. So we'll be discussing it at the annual meeting. There are, for good or for bad, fewer farmers. But from a checkoff standpoint, it makes it easier to move forward. And, the folks that we have talked to have been, positive on the checkoff. So that would be good to get that established. And as you know, the checkoff program is educational, but it's also marketing. So the, Got Milk campaign, where's the beef, pork, white meat. It funds, and a big scale that we need to get to promote hemp. And I'm still a firm believer in hemp. I know, amongst the farmers, they're like, I don't know, but I get it. But I'm a firm believer, because it's still here, it's doing well, especially on the fiber side. You see it growing. You look at hemp wood. They had at the NOCO meeting, they had this putter. I need to get my hand on it. It was beautiful, but it shows what can be done, with hemp. And I believe that my understanding is that they secured a deal with, I think, DIY or somebody to do some spots on their flooring.
Awesome. That's so cool. Greg's doing lots of good thing at Hempwood. Okay, so checkoff program. There's a lot of buzz and we talk about it, right? And there's a lot of people that when I say it, and I'm sure you in the same situation, especially that are a little further removed either from the farm or other big ag or from Capitol Hill, what is a checkoff program? How does it affect the industry? How do funds move from farm to marketing, or how is the marketing and education funded? Can you talk just a little bit high level on, so people understand, like, what's the benefit and how will they be affected or benefit from it?
Sure. And I'm going to take the schoolhouse rock.
Yeah.
Date myself of being at the 30,000 foot level. Is the checkoff program is a self-imposed assessment at the farm. It can go into other areas, but in general, it's farmers collectively get together, they vote, the majority, if they support a checkoff program, a self-assessment is taken at the point of sale. The way that it's collected varies depending on how it's structured, but basically at the farm gate, at the point of sale, it's a percent of either weight, sales, or factors that the farmers decide on. It's not an outside group, and that's kind of a misnomer that you hear all the time. You hear like, oh, it's a tax by the government. No, and that's why we have to choose our words carefully, like hemp, cannabis, marijuana, high THC. We have to use our words carefully because words matter. So it's an assessment. Then a board of directors is chosen by the secretary of those people paying into the checkoff program. So, for example, I'm not growing hemp on our farm, so I wouldn't be paying into it. So somebody would say, well, Patrick Atagi is, he just wants to run this thing. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. The board is appointed by the Secretary of Agriculture. The board then selects, their chair. Then they form another organization. It's not, NIHC. It's not USHRT. It's not HIA. It's a separate organization being run independently. And again, the board chosen by the secretary. Unfortunately, there's a lot of history there, but that's, decades, past, but unfortunately, it persists. Even some folks in this industry are critical and critical of NIHC, and it's like, it doesn't work that way, the way you're saying, but they're entrenched in the history of, that's what happened. That's the way it is. And it's not, and it's also, people get, I get criticism of, rising tide raises all boats, but it does, especially in our industry. You're already seeing it. You're seeing the consolidation, the pulling together,
yes.
working together, right? I mean, yeah, you're seeing it, and I'm hearing it, from our members. It's like, y'all guys need to work together, and we are. So, example for our meeting, you're speaking, Jason Waddell speaking, Jonathan Miller speaking, etc. So you're already seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's really necessary, right? Like you said, the demand is so big, the contracts are so big. We've got to be able to come together to support each other and support the demand, right? And like you said, and then back to the farm. Okay, so can you talk to me a little bit about timeline of the checkoff? Right, we've got a few acres ground on fiber. So if we've got 5 to 7 years before we hit 1 million acres, about what do we need as an industry to support a checkoff program?
Yeah, absolutely. But just a quick note, as I think of the criticism, you can't lobby with checkoff dollars. Right. So that's a criticism of saying, well, the fiber guys are lobbying and they run most of it, and they're opposed to CBD. It doesn't work that way.
It's like money. Don't lobby with foundation.
Yeah, checkoff dollars can't be used for lobbying. Yeah. In terms of the timeline, we talked about this early on with other associations about 1.5 years ago, and then we had the turmoil, COVID, just everything except for locusts, right? And then even then, you're from Utah, Mormon grasshoppers.
We did have that problem.
Yeah, right. So, and unfortunately, I know that really well from my time at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. But the timeline, at the earliest would be 18 months from now. It's a process issue, right? You have to do education, which comes from the industry, on the checkoff and educating people before they vote. USDA Agricultural Marketing Service helps with the voting and, the administration side of it. But it's mainly the industry that has to do it. And again, it's not a government imposed assessment. It has to be from the industry. Leading up to it is basically industry dollars. We believe, that funding is there. It's just a matter of, organizing it and moving forward. And that's part of our discussion in a few weeks at our annual meeting is, okay, let's put the system in place. We brought on staff at the NIHC who's willing to work on it, in addition to, their own tasks. And then one of our board members is on the pork board and pork checkoff. So he knows, the path and the pitfalls. So we're re-engaging on this issue. It'll be more than 18 months. I think it'll be more like 24 months. But I think now's the right time because I think most farmers, and most being, more than the half that you need, are supportive of a checkoff.
Awesome. I do have to give props to your team, right? You guys have a great amount of experience in other industries that really are supportive of expanding the hemp industry. And so just like you mentioned, the gentleman that's been on a previous checkoff program with other industries, and the pork checkoff's one of the best. It's like other white meat, right? It's one that a lot of people memorize and remember. And so that's awesome. Can you talk to me real quick about how the MAP money benefits members and industry? I know that it's for education and promotion internationally, and I know that there's availability for members to be able to tap into some. Talk to me a little bit about how is the MAP money really being used for industry, and how do members?
It's not just members. It's available, to the public, and
awesome.
We've asked folks, and I think some aren't really ready to, promote overseas, but we've had several who've done it. Again, it wasn't MAP money, but Jason Cleaver joined us in Costa Rica. I work with Mike Klump, who's on the Agricultural Technical Advisory Committee, the USDA Advisory Committee to the Secretariat Trade Representative. We're talking a fall trip to Asia. He actually has products stuck in Hong Kong that was shipped there prior to the pandemic, and it's been warehoused until then. So we're looking at potentially going to visit his facility just to see, what's there. I mean,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Also, to tag along, you just let me know.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You can come along. I think it'd be helpful.
Very cool.
It's in late November, early December, so we can talk offline.
Okay. Yeah.
I know you're kind of kidding, but I'm not.
I'm not either.
So we're talking with Morris Beagle. He does she and NOCO, but potentially doing an event in Asia. So that, because right now we have some money, so we can do travel and offer that because it's just opening up. But once things are full steam, we're not unless we get a significant increase, we won't be able to pay for people's travel. But what we're talking with Morris is potentially setting up a pavilion, where U.S. hemp companies can present, and we pay for the pavilion, so you don't have to pay 10, 15, 20,000 US dollars for a space. We would pay for, the federal government would pay for the pavilion, and then people, I mean, it's incumbent upon them to be able to afford to go and, show their wares. But it'd be under the tent of the MAP program. Yeah. So that's one of the things where people can benefit. So that goes to both sides, right? People are like, well, I don't sell in Asia, I sell in the US, I do that, but that's where that's where the checkoff money comes in. So you're talking the history, our history, it's the pair. You have the domestic checkoff program, and you have an international MAP program and other programs to promote US products. It's the library scenario. Somebody there was not a library but a bookstore. Bookstore opened up on a corner, and then another bookstore opened up, and the first bookstore was like, well, this is my corner, and this is competition, but actually it increased traffic because it became a destination for books. So then a third bookstore opened up, then another. So yeah, then you're competing on service or what you have, yes. And it may be detrimental, may not, but in general, you're bringing more traffic.
And again, initially, it's the collaboration that has to happen, right? Like exactly. we have to rise all tides right now. Otherwise, we're as strong as our weakest link.
Yeah, and you kind of see where we're at on that. I mean, and I think folks are seeing that, right? We need to work together. So on that note, the MAP program also affords us, we've been chosen by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to be the partner. I mean, they may work with other folks, but in general, they pick one association that they want to work through, and that's us. That's the NIHC, National Industrial Hemp Council. What that means is that on these trade missions, we can also set up meetings with other governments. And they know that we're the trusted partners, so we can bring other, as you mentioned, individuals and companies overseas on these negotiated trade missions. So it's not just selling, it's opening the markets. And that kind of goes into what we're doing. We can talk about it in a minute, about a regulatory analysis of Europe and countries close to it. So that money goes into opening markets. We've done a lot, and we don't necessarily say a lot. And I've been told that I should speak more of it, but just getting the MAP money, that took almost 2 years. We were working with USDA. The Office of General Counsel was no, and we went through. Our lawyers and our team went through and saying why yes. And so that opened the opportunities for the grant program, for MAP, for export promotion, to benefit the industry.
I think that what you just said about opening doors, right? That first money in is so important, especially in the hemp industry, right? And being able to show that we've been able to bring prior grant money in under the same or a different category now gives security for additional funds to open up. And
exactly, right? And so
that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been super careful. I mean, way beyond, what is traditionally expected of associations. Because it's funny, we, from the rank and file federal employees, that we're a new organization. Yes, we are. We started in March of 2019. But you've seen our board. I mean, we have decades. We have over 100 years of experience, in the federal government as farmers, running successful farms, small farms, large farms. We know the systems, right? I mean, folks come in and go, well, why not us? And it's like, well, they ask some very basic questions, and you really have to have the experience to be able to understand the answers. It is a bureaucracy, and you have to dot your I's, cross your T's, and know actually where to dot your I's and cross your T's.
I think that's the big thing, right? Is understanding the experience, again, of knowing where it comes from, where to go, where to look, where to kind of know in the pipeline where funds will be adjusted or coming from. When we talk just about grant money, or, I mean, it's so much more than waiting for it to be posted online.
Yeah, it's like a job posting. Did somebody have the inside track? Do they not? Is it worth posting or not? But no, we're working together with, as much as we can. We're very much trying to, with working with GHA, working with USHBA, even the US Hemp Roundtable, we're looking at doing an MOU, with them. That's one of those many things I need to work on. But we're doing what we can to work with other groups, and being members of the Federation of International Hemp Organizations. We're doing it both, domestically, internationally, local level, Texas Hemp Growers Association, Midwest, Oregon Industrial Hemp Farmers Association, et cetera. I apologize if I'm missing folks.
Here we are. It's hard to remember them all. So
they're all memorable. It's just, talk.
It's always when we're on the spot. If somebody said, "Hey, can you rattle off so and so?" I'm like, and then get off the record or away from the question, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So,
Right, exactly.
yes.
That's why I'm relying on you, because
Yes.
you're very smart and knowledgeable, and you remember things very well. So I'm glad I'm chatting with you.
That's all. You're awesome. Okay, so I want to. You had mentioned the Verify program, so I want to kind of talk about that, and then I also want to talk about the LCA, your funding cycle for the LCA. Talk to me. What does that mean? What do you? Yeah.
Yeah, the Verify program, we could spend the whole episode on the Verify program.
Okay.
But very simply is bringing consistency to the industry.
Yes.
Some will say, well, how is this any different than that? Or how is that different than that? We're bringing consistency and name brand. So it's the ASTM Hemp Q program plus some additional requirements. A third party certifies a lab onto the ASTM International requirements. Once they receive that certification, they can then use the NIHC Verify logo, and we're finalizing that now, on their product. We're working with a couple companies and a couple laboratories who will have that, and we should have some product demonstration at our annual meeting, so they can put the label, the checkmark label on their product. And the checkmark label, all it says right now is that product was tested at a laboratory that met the certification of ASTM. So we're trying to reduce the lab shopping. We're trying to bring consistency to the industry. So in addition to the ASTM requirements, the NIHC requirements is going to what we call the 5 legs, or the 5 pillars, the 5 pillars. And that's pesticides, heavy metals, microbiology analysis or mycotoxins, residual solvents, and I always do this to myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Pesticides, metals, mycotoxins, residual solvents.
Microbiological, and the big one, the obvious one, potency.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I'm
looking for all the non-obviouses and potency.
So the 5 pillars, you have to meet those. Be a member in good standing with the NIHC. We're developing a microsite which we'll unveil at our annual meeting. But again, we're very excited. We're working with all the known names. We have Darwin Miller with ASTM, who sits on there voluntarily, and but he's contracted with the NIHC, and we're working with the usual, David Valancourt, Kay, who's the current chair. They're on our committee. So, no, I appreciate this opportunity, Mandy, because my personality is just to work quietly and, just get it done and, let the work show. But, along the way, we do need to show our work, so to speak, and let people know what we're doing. And so greatly appreciate this opportunity.
Well, I think that it's so important, right? And I like that you are not coming in on the Verify to recreate the wheel, but to, add credibility to existing programs. ASTM is also doing a lot of work. Darwin, David, and Kay are rock stars. So anybody that doesn't know them, they should. Joining ASTM is not a lot, and it's a huge benefit. It gives you an opportunity also to give lots of feedback around standard development. And so good partnership. I love Kay. She's a gem. I got to spend some time with her in Costa Rica, and so that was really awesome. But yeah, and thank you also. I would love to have you come back and maybe even spend some more time or invite some other people from your team also at some point and talk about the Verify program and how do we roll this out, and how do people get engaged? If somebody's looking right now to get involved with National Industrial Hemp Council, how do they find you, Patrick? What's the best way?
Yeah, the best way is just to go to the NIHC, website, NIHCOA.com. Go to the website. If you want to sign up as a member, it's very straightforward. but also just feel free to email me or one of my team. We're there. But no, absolutely feel free to email me. And for positive or negative, I get both criticism and praise, and they're both very, very helpful. I spent a lot of time with Eric Steenstra in Berlin. We sat down at our booth and had good conversations. So hopefully expect to see more of him. But it was just also, it's like, Patrick, you're doing the right thing, USDA, the corporate, but you have to bring in, everybody. So I was like, it's a very valid point. We've just been working hard to get to where we are. And then, now we'll,
this is where it takes a village, right? Each of our associations and groups have done a good job at focusing on something, that now none of us are strong in everything. And so being able to pull them together, and the collaboration, just like you did with ASTM as an example, is really what we need for leadership also, Patrick. So,
well, a team of leaders, including you, including Jason Waddell, everybody. We're not always going to agree on everything, but we do agree that we need to work together. I think that's even for this interview is, I think the message is, we are working together. And we hear from our own memberships and I always tell people, you don't have to belong to just one. And people always kind of like, you can belong to multiple. There's no law that says you have to belong to just one organization. And if you belong to multiple organizations, you have the ability as a member to bring them together. Right?
Yes.
So, but no, we're going to, speaking of that, we're going to announce tomorrow for our life cycle analysis funding. We have $375,000 to put towards a life cycle analysis. So those listening or those who are listening later, just look for that announcement on Friday. There'll be a contact name in there for you, but we'll leave that open for a month until September 1st to receive, applications, and then we'll, go through them. We're looking at, various things. One at the lead is building is an easy one, but carbon credits. We're very much looking at that, in terms of, Europe or globally, but focusing on Europe for the short term. So, again, we're funding
that. The LCA, you mean? You're focusing on carbon credits with the LCA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because how does that, affect, life cycle analysis, right? From seed to, to end of life.
Seed to soil, basically, like from seed to grave or seed to
it's usually cradle to grave is what So we're looking at it from beginning to end. I think those are a little more straightforward. When you get into the fiber, it gets pretty complicated. And then our other grant, we submitted for a request for proposals for the European regulatory analysis, and we received several applications, and we're finalizing the selection today, and we'll announce that here shortly of that. And again, that's to opening markets. What are the regulations? And to the readers, it's like, well, what are we getting out of this? We'll have a database, very robust database that folks can go in and say, I'm selling X. Here are the hurdles I'm going to face. I've been in Washington D.C. and have been with the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service. I did a review of the agency, so I think it's from The Incredibles. If anybody watched that, he's penetrating the bureaucracy. We're pretty good at that. We know how to penetrate the bureaucracy. We don't throw rocks because when we were in the administration, we didn't like it.
It doesn't work.
We tend not to do that. It's not really productive. But that shows, right? Again, going back to where we are, we're doing great, and I don't know whether I should use this analogy or not, but my Japanese background is very dark clouds and silver lining, but we're, as an association, doing great. I think the industry is doing great in certain areas, right? I think in the fiber side, absolutely. I think there's so much potential for growth. And then we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. There's some really interesting things that we should learn more about, but that could be saved for another discussion, should that come down the pike.
Well, there's lots. I would love to continue discussion about a number of things that are happening, and especially at our role, as associations. What can we do as Global Hemp Association and our members and those listeners to support your efforts and support what you guys are doing?
I think just do what you've been doing. You've been great to work with, Mandy.
Nice.
Our discussions in NOCO about the larger grant that we applied to on climate smart agriculture and working together in Costa Rica, working hand in hand, versus, well, what are they doing? What are they doing? And that's just been fantastic. I think just continue what you're doing, really. The groups that we're working with, they've been phenomenal. I mentioned them, even some that you might raise your eyebrow going, well, what's that about? But in areas that we can find common ground, definitely, again, there's the Federation of International Hemp Organizations. We're there, so if you can join up, it'd be great. But no, I think we're on the right track.
Yeah.
But I think it's really more from the members themselves. I know you have, I know I have, I know others are like, work together, and my mentor, Under Secretary Bill Hawks, his motto and mine is, working together works. And we're much better off working together, than just trying to carve out our own little niche in an island. You may or may not survive, but with everything that we're facing, we need to work together. And I do think it's working.
I do too. And I'm proud of us. So shout out to everybody that's doing this and everybody that's leading the charge. Thank you so much for all of the efforts. With that, can you talk a little bit in detail about what to expect at your annual meeting for guests that maybe haven't registered or people that are already registered and plan to be there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, got great people showing up. As I mentioned before, the Dean of the School of Agriculture will be there. Jay Noller will be there, but also, again, the larger companies will be there and smaller. Departments of Agriculture will be there, Kentucky. So very excited about that. Trying to think of the list.
And it's a sit down, you do like a business banquet type meeting, right? And then you're also doing a research piece this year. What's different about the research? Is it going to be like field tour?
The research part is the ability to visit with faculty at the Global Hemp Innovation Center. And hopefully the new director will be chosen, and that'll be a phenomenal opportunity to meet with that person. Tour Oregon State, and also understanding, you talked earlier about, how to work together, how it benefits. Oregon State University is a machine when it comes to grants. They receive roughly 75% of all federal funding. They received a $50 million grant to promote hemp in the Northwest and West, right? So I think it's worthwhile your time to come and, if anything, make the connection with the folks at Oregon State. We'll have, I think, roughly 15 faculty members, there in person. You'll get to, look at the facility. It's just phenomenal. So that's the research side of things. We also have on the banking side, we have Westtown Bank. Thank you, Westtown Bank, for your sponsorship. Very much appreciated. A shout
They're
out.
awesome.
They are.
Melissa, their whole team, they're so good.
Yeah, they are. Melissa's just awesome. And
yes.
They're all great.
Yes.
So definite shout out, definite plug for Westtown Bank. We have another bank entering into the space. So and it shows, to me, it shows the interest, right? You talked about our annual meeting last year. We had Todd Van, who's a friend and colleague with CoBank. Before he wouldn't speak, he was like, "Well, let Northwest Farm Credit speak." They weren't quite ready to dip their toe. But when the CEO president of CoBank comes to your meeting, that's a sign. The fact that we have Ed Elfman with the American Bankers Association, Vice President of Government Affairs for Agriculture Banking, at our meeting. 2 banks ready and open for business. One of the banks coming, they offer service that's for $150 fee a month. They provide legal service for you. So if you should be denied or if you should have problems, their team will come in and advocate for you in your program. So, we have staff who have left major banks because they had stipulations or they would hold their paycheck, because it's coming from the National Industrial Hemp Council. We belong to several banks, for various reasons, but one of those is, in case we, get closed or shut down or have problems, we worked through Wells Fargo, and that was, they had questions that just didn't make sense. We're an association. We do meetings, we do advocacy, we do outreach, we do marketing, but we don't grow anything. And they're like, well, are you in the cannabis business? Are you in the marijuana business? Again, back to the nomenclature being used. Like, no, it's hemp and it's legal. So why are you asking these questions? So long answer to your short question, we're very, very excited. Great list of folks coming. It just grows. Oregonians are kind of a wait till the last minute, and I'm suffering from my sins because I'm one of those who was, asking about hotel rooms and registration, 3 days before. So I'm more diligent about doing that. But encourage folks to sign up and just get rid of the mind clutter and get it out of the way. But no, we're extremely excited. Very different from our annual meeting in Washington D.C. This is more of a roll up your sleeve. Let's get to work again, talk to check off. In a side meeting, if anybody's interested, let me know. But yeah, so just repeat. It's research. It's the networking with Oregon State University, and their folks and their leadership, which I think is great. So we're doing a ton of stuff. USDA is coming, so we're doing tours and meets on that Wednesday and Thursday. So if you want to stay around for that and join us, Mandy, you're more than welcome to. It'll just be like 3 or 4 right now, but you never know. We had 16 that I didn't expect for a Pennsylvania tour. I
would love to.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the people again, like the quality of people that you had at your last event that now I'm connected with, like Kay and Denise and Jason, that there have been these great relationships built that are all solid business leaders, whether they're in the industry or coming into the industry. I mean, I'm trying like hell to get Denise in, and I'm sure you're doing the same.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? And people who might be listening are like, well, why are you doing that, Patrick? You should be blocking, and this is yours. I'm like, no. Again, you don't need to belong to just one. There's value to each association. Yeah, there's overlap, but in general, there's value. If you're funding both, you and me to go to Costa Rica, then it's awesome. The more, the better.
And it was good conversation. We're able to feed off of each other and support each other. And again, it goes back to like, I want to see you successful, because without your success, it's another, struggle in the industry as a whole. Right. And so, there's so many benefits to it. But
we have different skill sets, right? You're a fantastic communicator. Like I said earlier, we just kind of put our heads down and get the job done. So. Working with you like this, people know what we're doing now because you're a great communicator. So we put those 2 skill sets together, and the industry is the better for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Anything that your team needs, please, let them know. I would love to highlight them. I'd love to continue these conversations. I'd even like to do something like this, maybe quarterly, where we update progress that you've got, progress that we're working on, especially as we start to find out grants that are funding, right? What's available? How do those roll out? How are we collaborating? The partners that we pulled together for this grant, I am so proud of, by the way. And so good job. And thank you for your support in that. And pretty awesome. But you guys, anybody that's listening, please don't hesitate to reach out to Patrick. You can see here, if you have any information, log on to their or looking for information, log on to their website so that you can find details about their upcoming event and additional opportunities to get involved with projects. Like Patrick said, and I can attest, they've got lots of grant opportunities funding availability, travel opportunities, and a robust network, right? That is very entwined and has a lot of experience. Like you said, over 100 years of experience in agriculture and government. So that's pretty awesome. Anything else, Patrick? Anyone you want to highlight or anything you want to say before we sign off?
We have our August 9th webinar on animal feed. We have over 700 people signed up for a webinar. We were thinking, 45 would be awesome. We have 700. So if people are talking about hemp is dead, there's no hemp in interest, we have 700 people globally and across the United States signed up for our webinar in partnership with AFCO, Association of Control Officials.
Yeah. And I did talk to Hunter about that, by the way. Good job, Hunter. Shout out to putting that together, working on that as well. And I have shared that in our newsletter. So if anybody is looking for that direct link, it is in our newsletter and I believe shared on our event page, at least on Friends of Hemp and potentially the Global Hemp Association. So I'll make sure that we get that out because I think that's a great opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So
thank you, man. Greatly appreciate for the opportunity.
Absolutely. If anybody's going to be in Montana, Nashville, or Oregon over the next couple of weeks, please let me know. I would love to connect face to face. I'm hungry for the handshake and a hug. So let's definitely get together. And Patrick, if there's anything I can do for you in the meantime before the event, don't hesitate to holler at me. I'd love to.
I would like to add one thing, and I may be a little off today, because yesterday I learned, a friend of the industry and somebody I've worked with closely, and here in South Bend, Indiana, is Representative Jackie Walorski, was in a car accident, passed away, and 2 of her staff passed away. So, keep them and their family in your thoughts and prayers. I was talking with my staff who work on Capitol Hill. It's hard because, she was, one of the staff was, just young, and then you're with your boss, and it's great, and life is exciting, and then your life is cut short. So I know you're just in South Bend, and I see South Bend Industrial Hemp on the line, but thoughts and prayers to the families. But I don't want to necessarily end on a down note. She was wonderful, got wonderful stories. She's amazing. So
well, I appreciate you bringing that forward, and I appreciate being able to spend time to say thank you for her work and keeping her family and I guess industry or family and cohorts in our prayers and thoughts. So
yeah, no, I work with her very closely and her staff. For those in St. Joseph's and all the areas in Indiana, just know that she did great work. She represented you well. One of the easiest offices I've worked with by far. So yeah. So
well,
with that, but thanks.
Sorry. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Well, again, we're going to be offline for a little while because we'll be traveling so much, but I will be going live from a number of these events. So if you're there, please connect. I would love to share what you're doing, share your booth, your knowledge, your information. If I haven't already invited you to join as a guest speaker, please reach out. I'd love to do that as well. So Patrick, thank you for all of your doing. Thank you for your team or to your team, and we'll see you in Oregon in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Mandy.